Now, the old expression, time heals all wounds, is especially the case when it comes to pro wrestling, specifically WWE. It's been rather common for WWE to rehire previously controversial figures and in turn give them a second chance. Some of the names on this list are undeniably problematic individuals, while some names on this list were controversial rehires due to their prior gimmick and presentation and clear lack of desire from fans to see them return. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 of the most controversial rehires in WWE history. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new channel, Wrestlelamia Shorts. Number 10. Braun Strowman. One of Triple H's first rehires upon taking over WWE Creative in 2022 was Braun Strowman. Strowman, during his first run in WWE, reached main event level status and he even won the Universal title at WrestleMania 36. Now, the issue with Strowman was that he became incredibly cocky and egotistical the more success he attained. During the pandemic, Strowman took aim at independent wrestlers, and this was seen as a spit in the face to wrestlers outside the WWE bubble who were struggling to pay their bills and were insanely worried about their future. Strowman also seemed to take great pride in arguing with fans, and there seemed to be a lack of respect and appreciation from Strowman, which ultimately made fans realize that he wasn't exactly the nicest guy in the world. When Strowman returned to WWE, fans were willing to give him a second chance, but following the Crown Jewel event, Strowman once again took aim at independent and smaller sized wrestlers. However, this time, wrestlers, including some from WWE, came together to call him out on his total ignorance. Number 9. Eva Marie. Now, even though Eva Marie wasn't a problematic individual in the sense that she caused any controversy by her own actions, she was a controversial rehire because WWE rehired Eva when it was clear that she was from a bygone era in WWE. During her inaugural WWE run, her in-ring work was heavily criticized, and it was clear that Eva simply wasn't ready for the big time. As her first run was coming to an end in 2017, talents such as Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte and Becky Lynch were all having all-time classics and main eventing pay-per-view events. But Eva's in-ring style simply wasn't appropriate for the time. In 2021, they re-debuted her and fans instantly questioned what on earth they were thinking. From the moment she was wrestling again, it was clear that she had somehow regressed in the ring and her matches made for lackluster viewing, to put it politely. She would eventually be released after just a few months as WWE realized that a second run for her was a complete waste of money and resources. Number 8. Brian Kendrick. Following the 2022 Survivor Series War Games event, news surfaced that Brian Kendrick was the producer for the Ronda Rousey and Shotzi matchup. This lit social media ablaze as Kendrick was an incredibly controversial figure and had been struggling to obtain bookings of any kind. The reason that Kendrick was and remains a rather disliked figure is because he previously said some rather distasteful comments relating to various tragedies. In prior comments, Kendrick had made remarks related to 9/11, Sandy Hook and the Holocaust, and all these comments crossed the line. There was no defending them in any way, shape or form. Kendrick has apologized for his past comments, but wrestling fans believe that the remarks were simply too disgusting to give Kendrick a prominent platform again. Number 7. Paul Heyman. When the news broke in 2001 that WWE hired Paul Heyman, fans were totally stunned. Heyman was previously the owner of ECW, but as ECW was facing financial difficulty in 2001, Heyman didn't let the talent know the severity of ECW's problems, and when it closed, a lot of ECW talent had no idea it was going to happen. Heyman then joined WWE in a commentary role, and this was controversial not just because Heyman was on enemy territory, but ECW stars such as Tommy Dreamer believed that Heyman had let everyone down. Nevertheless, Heyman's work, specifically alongside Jim Ross, was universally acclaimed by fans. Some say that Heyman and JR are one of the greatest commentary duos of all time, and it's hard to disagree. Heyman has become a staple of WWE programming over the past decade, and his work alongside Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, and more recently Roman Reigns has cemented Heyman as a future WWE Hall of Famer. Number 6. Jerry Lawler. Now, upon the Cat being released from WWE in February 2001, her husband at the time, Jerry the King Lawler, decided to completely walk out of WWE. The problem from WWE side was that Lawler was the color commentator for Raw and pay-per-view events. As previously mentioned, Paul Heyman would be introduced as Jim Ross's new commentary partner, and to say that his pairing was a vast improvement would be an understatement. Whilst JR and Lawler had legendary status as a duo, JR and Heyman just hit differently. Heyman offered a brand new approach to commentary and had a way of putting over talent, specifically heels, that was applauded by fans. WrestleMania 17 featured Heyman and JR delivering some of the best commentary ever delivered, and Heyman's work during the pay-per-view set the template on how to deliver color commentary. Following the Survivor Series in 2001, WWE had reached an agreement to bring Lawler back to the company. And the issue here, and the reason for the controversy, was that JR and Heyman had such amazing chemistry, and now they were going to abandon the commentary team in favor of returning Lawler, who had walked out of the WWE a few months prior. Fans were disappointed, and some fans questioned why WWE was so keen to bring Lawler back. Number 5. Eugene. The Eugene character was one of the most controversial characters WWE had ever presented. Eugene was a wrestler who had learning difficulties, and the character was labeled as insensitive and exploitative by many. In 2009, WWE decided to bring Eugene back, and this was a questionable decision, as it was PG at the time, and a character as controversial as Eugene on a PG product wasn't going to go down so well. Eugene would wrestle just one match on TV in 2009, which was a losing effort against The Miz. Upon his return, Eugene got no reaction from the audience, so it was evident that the crowd had no desire to see him make a comeback. The former tag team champion would be released in just a matter of days after his TV return, as former chairman Vince McMahon reportedly wasn't pleased with Eugene's physical appearance. Number 4. Alberto Del Rio. WWE pushed Alberto Del Rio to the moon upon his main roster debut in 2010. Del Rio would win the 2011 Royal Rumble and would proceed to have several title reigns. He would depart from WWE in 2014 after it was reported that he had slapped a social media manager for making an insensitive joke. Upon Del Rio's work in various other companies, he began to obtain a reputation for having a terrible attitude and seemed to have issues with people no matter what company he landed in. In 2015, they made the decision to bring Del Rio back, which was a questionable decision, but WWE and fans were willing to give Del Rio the benefit of the doubt and hoped he would mellow out. Around this time, Del Rio began to date fellow WWE star Paige, and it later surfaced that Del Rio had been putting Paige through physical and mental torment. These claims presented by Paige were supported and corroborated by another woman that Del Rio had previously dated. By the end of 2016, Del Rio was completely done with the company, as he believed he had been mistreated from a creative aspect, but his departure wasn't seen as a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. Once Del Rio was finally out of the door, stories began to surface surrounding Del Rio's behavior related to domestic violence, and it was evident that WWE had dodged a bullet by distancing themselves from the former champion. Number 3. The Ultimate Warrior. During his initial run in WWE, the Ultimate Warrior made several enemies within WWE. Warrior seemed to rub everyone he worked with the wrong way, and he was involved in numerous scandals, including holding Vince McMahon up for money back in 1991. Fast forward in 1996, Vince McMahon made the controversial and criticized decision to bring him back. They clearly wanted Warrior to return as a reformed character and potentially help the next generation of talent, but similar issues surfaced within a few short months. They were forced to terminate Warrior's contract after he had missed several house shows, and Warrior would then proceed to claim that WWE had breached their side of their written agreement. This last run in the company would seriously damage the relationship between both WWE and the Warrior, and it wasn't until 2014 and the Warrior's induction into the Hall of Fame when both sides would let bygones be bygones. Number 2. Jeff Jarrett. Well, the wrestling world was stunned in 2018 when Jeff Jarrett returned to WWE to enter the Hall of Fame. Shortly after his Hall of Fame induction, he was hired as a backstage producer, and this was one of the most surprising rehires in recent memory. Jarrett and Vince McMahon were mortal enemies following 1999, as Jarrett had infamously held up McMahon for money at the No Mercy pay-per-view. Following his departure from WWE, Jarrett would eventually be one of the founders of TNA, which acted as an alternative product to WWE. McMahon and Jarrett were both willing to put their negative past behind them, and since Jarrett amended his relationship with WWE, he's taken on a number of roles, including a vice president role, which Jarrett had between May to August 2022. And number 1, Hulk Hogan. The reputation of Hulk Hogan was altered forever in 2015 when it surfaced that Hogan had gone on a racist rant back in 2012. Included in this rant was the use of the N-word, and fans of Hogan were in total disbelief that their childhood hero was an utter racist. WWE did the right thing by cutting ties with Hogan, and they even removed him from the Hall of Fame. Hogan proceeded to look for forgiveness and ultimately blamed his upbringing for the racist rant, but as fans know as well as fellow wrestlers, this excuse simply wasn't valid. In 2018, they began to reintroduce Hogan back into the WWE family, and this included putting him back into the Hall of Fame. This was a decision which received widespread criticism. Whilst WWE likes to glorify Hogan as a wrestler, the damage is already done, and Hogan's reputation as a human being is never going to be the same again. But there you have it folks, the 10 most controversial rehires in WWE history. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.